If I die tomorrow, if I'm being told now, that's it, it's over, do I look back? Do I have any regrets? I can genuinely tell you no. And I'm gonna continue to work on keeping it like that. Takes me out of life, because life is happening now, you and me, but it's like we are creating all these Bollywood and Hollywood films in our mind that we're missing the experience. It's very fucking simple, we're making it so complicated, but in the end of the day, body, breath, and choosing carefully who and what I spend time with. What would bring me to present when I'm triggered? What would bring me to present when I'm stressed? What would bring me to present when I'm in a conflict or something like this? To have those little tools, and as you said, it's very simple. It's about who are you? It's a question for everybody that listens to this, and finding it from within instead of from the outside, because most of us, on a more spiritual level, if I may say, in this space, in a business building such, there is something bigger than us playing a game here. Is a guiding question. Am I guided by fear or am I guided by love? There is only two options. With everything, am I driven by my ego to prove something to someone? Or am I driven by something that really means something to me? That truth, that purpose, if you've lived your life for 10, 20, 30, 40 years misaligned, it's not going to be easy. But it's going to be so beautiful to tap into that. And it's worth it. Coming back to the first question, if I die tomorrow, do I have regret?
I'm on a mission to help the world to see success differently. We're sharing the stories of our guests. I hope to inspire those that listen. This is the Different Hats podcast, produced by H2 Productions. I hope you can join us on this journey. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about one of our sponsors, Nostos, an authentic experience of Greece right here in the heart of Hove. In a world brimming with dining options, finding that one place that captivates your palate and heart isn't always easy. It's about more than food. It's the stories, the ambience, the slice of another world. This is the essence of Nostos, an award-winning Greek restaurant. With traditional recipes passed down through generations, each dish promises a story and a piece of heritage. And Nostos is more than just a restaurant. It's a community contributor. Each dining experience supports initiatives close to their heart, from local charities to cultural events, enriching Brighton and Hove's social fabric. They also provide catering services, bringing Greek cuisine to your personal events. For a taste of Greece without leaving town, visit nostos-hove.co.uk. And when you do go, say Sam recommended the feta nests. Oh my God, they are amazing. Okay, welcome to another episode of the podcast. And for the first time on the Different Hats podcast, we have a returning guest.
Hey!
My very, very good friend, Yaron Engler. Yaron, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Good to be here with you again, my friend.
I know I sort of messaged you prior to you coming on, and I just said, obviously going back and listening to that, we've done that bonus episode that we released, which we didn't film actually, it was just an audio, wasn't it? We released it on World Mental Health Awareness Week, and I didn't realise actually, going back and listening to the podcast episode again, how much that shaped actually what I was doing with this whole series, the whole podcast itself. It helped so much. It was the first time I opened up about that dark time for me, I think openly, and the conversation that we had around, even touching on success at that point as well, and what that sort of looked like, and just around the mental health challenges that men face as a whole. I felt for the first time I opened up around that subject, and it's helped me shape what I'm doing with this now, and over 100 episodes in now, and so I just, before we kick off, I just wanted to say a massive thank you, my friend.
Thank you. I still remember when you started. I was like, you started with that very open monologue, and I was like, oh fuck, this is going to be good, because I didn't expect that. I'm very used to this kind of conversations, as you know, but to come to a place which is more kind of businessy, and then you started it like this. Okay, this is going to be good. So this is going to be good as well.
Mate, absolutely. I was so excited. When I know obviously lots have changed for you. You've been travelling around a bit, and when you mentioned I'm back in the country, come in. Let's record this and film it this time as well, so we get that gorgeous face of yours on there. Yeah. But mate, listen, we're going to kick off as I have done with this new series since the 100th episode, and what it's all about, and how the podcast is helping the world to see success differently. Talk to me. How do you define success? What does it mean to you?
We spoke about it last time, so I will keep it short this time, because it was back then that I was rethinking it. I think it's still two options. One of them still remains living life without regrets. For me, if I look back and I've cleaned my shit and I've done the things that I wanted to do, then it's all good. The other one is more spiritual, is about presence, because I feel that that's a big challenge, to stay present in the moment with what's happening, because there's so much distraction these days that takes me out of life, because life is happening now, you and me, but it's like we are creating all these Bollywood and Hollywood films in our mind that we're missing the experience. So this is an interesting one for me, something that I'm doing deep work on that. So staying present instead of being in that film that is created in the mind. That's another form of success. I'm not so much into the thing that you're challenging here. That's, for me, it's kind of, we don't need to talk about this, so we can move on. For me, these two, being present and looking back and living life without, if I die tomorrow, if I'm being told now, that's it, it's over, do I look back, do I have any regrets? I can genuinely tell you no, and I'm gonna continue to work on keeping it like that.
Love that. And I think the thing with being present, again, that's something massively, I think even from that beginning part when we first spoke, right up until now, like working on that and being present in the moment is, I'll mention it, certainly one of the big lessons I learned from on the 100th episode, reflecting on all the lessons I've learned over the 99 conversations I've had. That was one of the biggest things for me, being in the moment. Now, like you said, we could get up tomorrow, we might not be here. Right? Can't change what happened yesterday, but all I can do is control what's here right now. But why is it, as a society, we struggle to do that as human beings, don't we? Do you not find that?
I don't know about society, so I'd like to speak for myself, but I know that for me it's a challenge. It's often a challenge, but I'm conscious that it's a struggle for me, and this is why I'm working on it, developing ways to come back. It's very fucking simple, we're making it so complicated, but in the end of the day, there is a lot of the work that I do, in both worlds that I'm working with. It's about embodiment. It's about going back to the body, because that's the best tool. If I punch you in the face now really hard, and I won't do it, but if I do it, you'll be very present in 1 second. Yeah? Yeah? So it's like we forget that we have a body. We just walk around the body. The bodies are taxis for this mind that is keeping busy. But if we just remember for a second to just, feel the connection of your chest right now with your top. Yeah, and feel your ass touching the surface of the chair. Feel your head touching the hat. Feel the touch of your loved one with your hand. Right now, it's available for us every moment. So it's a choice. Do I focus on... This is a great, simple way to just come back to present. Same thing with breath. It's like if we just take... Suddenly, okay... So, and it's that simple. The problem is that we let that what I call mind masturbation, it's like we're wanking with our minds constantly, and we're addicted to that wanking, and we lose ourselves in it. And again, I'm as blame as everybody else. I'm not saying I've mastered it, but for me, it's just that. It's about, I think, the body, breath, and putting myself in spaces and with people that ignite that. Like this, for me, makes me present. You know, when you told me, let's do it again, I thought, of course, let's do it. When I go on stage and I do my thing, it's like that's a spiritual, it's a different level kind of thing. The men's group that we run, I have to be present because I really have to read the room and what's happening. So I'm trying as much as I can to spend more time with the things and people that make me aligned with that present. And at the same time, you know, we spoke about the crop cycle last time. The cleansing of clearing, of removing all the other things that remove me from that. People that drain my energy, no thank you. Again, there's no judgment about this. It's just that, you know, I want to keep myself in that. Things, you know, I am quite overwhelmed with big social event. If you know me, I'm quite like, I'm going on stage, but then put me in after, like in big parties and stuff. It's really hard for me because I'm not interested in small talk. I'm not interested in like, hey, how are you doing? I'm interested if it's genuine and so on. So it's about filtering that. So I guess body, breath, and choosing carefully who and what I spend time with. Don't know if I answered your question, but that's an answer to something.
Perfectly. Because I think like it is. Like you said, we can complicate being present.
We're complicating everything. Life is very simple.
It really is, and I think like when I filmed part of the 100 episodes, I filmed it down at I've got this since we've last spoke over the last couple of years. I got a beach hut last year, and I sit there at my beach hut, and I go and swim in the sea all through the winter now, cold water. But that for me, it's as simple as that.
Perfect.
All I need is to go and swim in that sea, go and sit in my beach hut with my coffee. Life's very simple. I don't need anything else. There's no more noise. I'm on my own. Sometimes at beginning of the morning, really early. There's no one else around, and you just go. I don't need anything else.
But that's great that you know it. And I think this is really important to find these things which are more time consuming because you have to go.
Of course.
But also to bring other tools that in the moment when I'm feeling like, what can I do in a second? And it literally is like taking a deep breath. It is squeezing my fists really hard but nobody needs to know that I'm doing it. I can do it under the table. And it's being aware, like what you're telling me is being aware. Like from great example, yesterday, came back after we were a week on tour now in Belgium. Yeah. This time it was a midterm. Took my son with me. 10-year-old, he has his first week on tour, rock and rolling, not really rock and rolling, but whatever. Wow. So it was amazing. I love, he's such an easy guy and he loved it, being in the green room, being with the dancer, and musicians on stage, But I am someone that I need my own time with myself. This is something so important for me. And a week with my boy, I didn't have that because, we go on tour, we go there, we go to the hotel room, you go to the theater, we go to dinner, you come back to the hotel. I'm with him like the whole time. And yesterday when I came back home, my daughter came from school. There's a little bit banter between the two of them, and suddenly I come and the home. There's a lot of stuff, and I feel like I am going to lose it. And the thing is that I've cultivated in the family that we are aware of this and we respect this. So I told my daughter starts to talk to me. She hasn't seen me for a week, and she starts talking. I told her, Olive, I need a moment. And I took my dog. This is where I'm getting my rest. I took my dog. I said, I'm going for a walk. And I'm taking my dog. This is my time with myself, with my dog. I just go for a walk, breathe a little bit of fresh air, came back home, sat with Olive, told her, okay, let's do it now. So I think it's great. It's what you say. We need to have the big things. For me, the walks with my dogs, I didn't want a dog, but I'm so grateful for him because I've been out every day when I'm around, not often now, but when I am around, it's no matter what. It's like at least 1 hour outside. I would never go out when it rains, and even like a little bit where I'm coming from, originally from the Middle East, as you know, the rain is already a terrifying thing, but I'm now going every day. So it's important, I think, to cultivate those things, but also what would bring me to present when I'm triggered? What would bring me to present when I'm stressed? What would bring me to present when I'm in a then in a conflict or something like this, to have those little tools. And as you said, it's very simple. We like to complicate things and make rocket science. You should read the podcast, and you should learn this book, and like people do. Why all books are 250 pages, for fuck's sake? You can summarize them in 30, most of them. So we can simplify things and become aware. That's what I would say. Works for me, at least.
Yeah. The other part I want to touch on as well about you mentioned about success, living a life with no regrets. Now I remember like you was the first person to highlight to me about the book The 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware.
Yeah.
Which I think I've referenced on every podcast since you mentioned it
really?
to me back then. Yeah. Just because it was. I think.
By the way, just with continuing what I said, I never read the book. I read the article on the Guardian or something. Yeah.
You mentioned. I remember you said it was the article we read, but it was about this in 5 Regrets of the Dying. But the book, I've gone on and read the book. And the book is Bronnie Ware. But the top regret, as you mentioned, the top regret is I've not lived a life true to myself. Right? Yeah. Aligns with that about no regrets, not living a life true to myself, and not having any regrets, and looking back at that. You get to your deathbed, and you look back at those times, and you go. And I want to touch on that with you now, because obviously quite a bit's changed for you, I guess, over since we last spoke a couple of years back. That gone back into the music side of stuff and started touring again. So again, it aligns, I guess, with that purpose and why we're here, what we want to do. Talk to me a little bit about what's happened the last couple of years and the journey for there.
It just happened.
Was it a conscious decision for you to go?
I'll tell you how it's very clear to me how it happened, because it so we had have you heard about COVID? There was this pandemic. I don't know if you remember, a few years ago, the whole world.
I remember someone talking about. I think I mentioned it on here once or twice.
So it was just after it was 2022 that Hofesh, the choreographer that I used to do most of my work with as a musician, suddenly contacted me and told me, like, listen, it's the piece where I met my wife. My wife is a dancer. That's where we met in 2007 or 8. We used to tour this all over the world. He said, the Paris Opera want to restage it, a bit of a bigger production. Do you want to do it? Now, I haven't worked with Hofesh performing for many years, because, I became a father, and then it was when I took the decision to change my direction from just music. And it was after COVID, and I thought, like, a month in Paris, just doing this show, which is super fun with the guys that I know, the musicians, said, I'm going. It was just perfect for me. So I went there for a month. And I have a big story about the opera house in London, which I had a bit of a conflict with. So I was expecting this kind of vibe, but it was such a great vibe there in the Paris Opera. The guys were brilliant, the crew and everybody. It was just a super fun month, doing a show that is super easy. The opera house, I don't know if you've been in the opera house in Paris. No, if you're ever in Paris, you have to go into that building. It's one of the most impressive buildings in the world. It's just insane, the building. So it was so much fun. And at the same time, my wife, who is a rehearsal director in Rumber Dance Company, she told me, like, listen, I'm going to watch this program, The Peaky Blinders, because we're going to do a dance piece. The Stephen Knight, the guy that created Peaky Blinders, decided he wants to do a dance piece about the Peaky Blinders. I don't watch TV at all, but I said, just to hang out with I said, I'll watch it. And we start to watch the program. Have you watched the Peaky Blinders? So the Peaky, we start to watch it, and the music is like completely my type of music. And then she starts to tell me, like, yeah, they're thinking about doing live music. And I'm like, ooh, this is something that I've never done, this kind of music, because I worked most of my life as a musician in contemporary dance, mostly with Hofesh and Akram Khan, another choreographer, but mostly with Hofesh. One of the biggest influences in my life. This is a big teacher for me, Hofesh. I love him to bits. Crazy lunatic, but yeah, big influence. So having most of my life working with Hofesh, it was always, you do some cuckoo shit on stage. I'm a drummer, but it's like, it's very expressive. It's very physical. And it's never like a mainstream kind of, you play drum kit. With Peaky, I understood it's going to be like a proper drum kit, like a rock concert, which I actually never have done. So I was like, And then when I understood that they're going for it, I said, I want to get this. I really want to play this show. And I did what I needed to do. I went through the processes and I got the job. And it was a crazy experience to put the show, because it was not a lot of time, a lot of pressure. It's a big production. but I became the musical director. In order to be the drummer, I had to become the musical director. So I told them very honestly, listen, I'm going to be musical director of this kind of type. If you're looking for this type, I'm not your guy. And I knew that they would need that because I know this world of dance. So I got the job really quick, and then we started touring that, and I find myself going on stage, smashing drums for 2.5 hours, having the best time of my life. And then I talked to Hoffish again, the same choreographer from before. I told him, hey man, I'm really enjoying. So if you have something happening, let me know. And then he calls me, tells me like, listen, I'm going to do a new piece, and I want you to be involved. And I'm like, okay. And then he came to me and he told me like, I think this time I want to do a lot of vocals. And I'm like, fuck yeah. I always sang like background vocals and stuff like this, but never sang. And this show is a big challenge for me because I'm literally, it's Hoffish. So if you know the work, I don't know if you can come to the show. It's the show that we're doing in the Brighton Dome. He provokes your emotions in the show. So people ask, what's the show about? You don't know, but you feel like you've been heated by something. And it's a lot. You have to really commit as an artist on stage, and this is why I love him, and I love his integrity as an artist. He really challenges you to go to your edges, with the way you express yourself on stage, whether you're a dancer or musician. At least that's how I see it. So we spoke about present. When I go on stage and I need to transmit energies that are really tricky to project as an artist, I have to be fully present to do it, and it's all body work. And now using the voice, it's even more, because with drums I can fake it. I know I've done it all my life. With voice, it's still a bit new, and there is something with the expression of voice. I always do it in workshops. It's like to just shout. There is something very healing about it. So for me to go on stage now a few times a week and do it in front of thousands of people and just like, it saves me a lot of money on going to psychologists and all this shit. I'm getting money for this instead. It's brilliant. It's really brilliant.
Wow.
I don't know if it makes sense, but it does make sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. But I tell you what's
So just to reply to your answer. So that's how it evolved. I didn't really plan it, but I never removed it from my life. And the beautiful thing, talking about, because I know that it's about business, also your podcast here, on one hand, I'm being removed because we're touring all the time. Like I told you, I just came back from Belgium. Next week we're in China, Korea, Paris. I'm going to be most of the spring and summer back to the opera, which is good fun. So there is the price of not being enough with the family and managing that energy, and a lot of falls on my wife, and it's not easy. But at the same time, I look at the benefit of it. I am touring. Once we're on tour and we're performing, I have the whole day to sit down and work on my business in the hotel room with no distractions at all. Then I go in the evening, smash the shit out of the drums, healing myself psychologically, rinse and repeat again. So it's quite a good fun. So
Okay, I just wanted to say something about one of our sponsors, Search 7. They have a search marketing agency for social good. They elevate brands' online exposure locally, nationally and globally through strategic SEO and paid media consultancy. They specialise in many different sectors, including charities, e-commerce, travel, health and medical education, and professional and creative services. They also give agencies and charities the exposure they deserve via their hosted agency and charity events, helping to build community and connections. Their pledge is the inspiration behind their name. Since they started in 2011, they have pledged to give back 7% of their profits to charity. This has become a minimum of 7% each year, with their current fundraising surpassing £150,000 in support of 63 charities. Their latest campaign, #Share177k, aims to raise £177,000 by the end of 2026 to mark their 15th birthday. It's a pleasure to have them as part of the Series 7 of the podcast. I'm delighted. Thanks so much for your support. I'll tell you what's incredible listening to you, looking in your eyes and listening to you talk about it, the how much it lights you up, the enthusiasm. Like you can tell, like it's just coming off of you, right? It's just there. And again, back to that initial point of, I guess, living a life true to ourselves, finding what our purpose is and why we're here, and if there's one thing I talk to the kids about all the time, just do something that lights you up. Don't care what it is. Do stuff that lights you up. And that's what I want my kids to do. Whether they can go and sweep the roads. If they want to go and sweep the roads, go and sweep the roads. If you love it with everything in you, that's got to be what it's about. Right? It's got to be why we're here.
Absolutely. And because we have this previous episode that we did and we didn't record compared to this one, I love seeing that you have taken also massive steps towards that. Because the last time we spoke, it was the beginning of an idea. You were not sure, and it was hitting. I feel you much more grounded in it. I see your sexy poster here behind you with all the stuff. There is a brand. There is a lot of work that has been done on something that felt like an idea back then. And you were, I'm sure that there is a lot of struggles like we all do. And, it's not like here we've sorted our shit, but the difference that you're showing your kids now, my judgment on it, like a positive judgment, is that now they see it from you. They can see, because we can talk as much as we want to talk, and a lot of people talk, and this is why I don't like talking, but you are demonstrating to them that you're doing what you love, because I know that this fuels you up. I know that you love that you stay here 24/7. Well, you've done it. Actually, it's funny enough. So that's what it is about. We can talk as much as we want, but can we go and walk the talk? This is something that comes a lot in the men's group that I run. It's about walking the talk, because we can come and talk now about anything and look very confident and stuff. But in the end of the day, is there something behind it? And we can sense when there is bullshit, and we can sense where there is truth. You're living your truth, my friend, now, and it's beautiful to see, and I'm sure that you feel that, and that feeling resonates, and the beautiful thing is that feeling has also a ripple effect. You mentioned now that you feel my energy, because this is me. Fine. You with what you do now have a ripple effect on all the people that you talk to. And the thing is, and that's really important for me to say, that it's not one dimension. My energy, I'm a bit cuckoo. I have like this energy that fuels me up and it fuels other people up. I know it and I'm fine. It's not coming from, some people have the same impact by being very still and being very precise, because that's their truth. So we spoke, I don't remember what I spoke about last time, but it's about who are you? It's a question for everybody that listens to this. And finding it from within instead of from the outside, because most of us, it's too common to look for the outside, to look at someone who does a podcast and wow, I'm going to do a podcast. Is that your truth? I'm talking to the listeners. Really to check in from within, and it's an uncomfortable journey, but it's totally worth it, as I believe
100%. You're right. I think there's so much there for me. So one thing definitely, podcast has become a thing now as well, where everyone wants to do a podcast. And it's great, but actually, when you look at the statistics of how many podcasts go past one episode, how many podcasts go past 10, and then there's millions of podcasts, but only a certain amount, 100,000 that have actually gone past 20 episodes or something like that. And then when I stood up and done that 100th episode, I guess I've never been on stage in the sense that you have with the drums, but that feeling of I stood up on that stage after, and everyone had just watched the episode, and Lindsay interviewed me after, and I was surrounded, there was 150 people in the room, and I was just surrounded by love, and I could not tell you the euphoria that I felt on that moment, doing something in front of my mum and dad, and my wife was there, and doing something that I loved, and I was sharing it with the world, and the response I got, and afterwards on social media, and a lot of it was external validation of something that I've achieved, but it's because it come from a place here, right? It come from here that I found something that does light me up so much that and people always will go to me, how'd you monetize it though? This isn't about that. Like, there's something bigger than that. Well, of course, money will become a byproduct of something that the other things I do, and I will make that will generate. But doing this doesn't matter. Money is in almost irrelevant to that process of just sitting here and having these conversations. I'll do this until I'm not going to retire from this. I'm going to do this until
That's the thing. It's about, there is a good phrase that I like. I heard it first from Scott Dinsmore. I don't know if you heard about Scott Dinsmore. He's a guy that started movement when I started with my journey out of the music. I found him, he called it, I'm so bad with names. I can't remember, but it was a movement around finding your purpose kind of thing. Unfortunately, he died. He was a very young guy. He died on his purpose. He climbed the Kilimanjaro and he died there. But he created a whole movement that people are still there. And one of the things that he said, and I really liked, is you have to find the thing that you can't not do. And you can't not do the podcast. You'll find a way to do it, no matter what. So, and I think it's important to separate it from, because why the money even connects to that? If you're making a podcast consciously because you want to create money, that's one thing. I don't think that's what you're doing here. So it's kind of, what's the purpose of what we're doing in everything, and what's the intention of everything? It's interesting that the money is connected to it immediately. Could be not. I don't know. But
people. That's the first thing people ask me. So,
who are these people?
But anyone within the business, I go out in the business.
I wouldn't ask you that.
Yeah. I love that. That's why we get on. So we're here.
No, I wouldn't ask you that because I know that you run other businesses, and I would love this to be successful financially and whatever. It's really interesting, It is really interesting. Well, we're going in. It's a big conversation.
But then I just want to touch on that then, because let's delve into that a little bit. Just because I think, and what I love about having you on is the fact that I know that I've been, like I said, that first episode was the first time I felt like I really opened up about stuff, and you gave me permission to be vulnerable. I feel like having that conversation with you, I felt like I had that permission to, because I knew your work and I knew and that you could hold that space. You almost allowed me to be vulnerable in that. So although I started off with it, I just felt safe that I could do that with you. So I feel like we are now. So I know that where I'm sitting right now, I feel in a really good place, and I'm honest about that. If we'd had this conversation back in December, I don't think I would have had that same energy. I'd have had that same. Doing this is what lights me up, but I was in a different headspace then because of financial pressures and where you are. So there's that, and I'm keen to, I guess, with you, and I know the stuff that you've done, especially in the men's space that you do, and we talked about it, and financial pressures as well. Where does your mind sit with that then, in that sense, with the financial pressures that we're under? We want to follow our purpose and we want to do the thing that lights us up and we want to do them things, but actually this over here is pulling me right down, and how do we balance them things out?
I have no idea, man. I honestly don't. No, because I'm not one of the guys, if you have Neil Lawton here, he will tell you how he sold the business, and he will, he is in a different space to me. I'm not that. Money was a consideration, but it was never that. I chose to be a fucking drummer, man. Come on, this is not somebody who will think about, and I thought about it. I didn't have the dream to become a rock star. I was always attracted to this is why I was always a bit kind of on the work that I do on stage is not like that mainstream kind of shit. And I was always attracted to that, because for me, the thing that pulls me in life is to be in things, as I said before, in things that make me feel good, make me feel me, allow me to peel the layers. I can't give you an answer. I was lucky enough to be in the right place in the right time to somehow make a career out of drumming. Maybe with a different reality, I would be like a miserable thing and I would go and work in something that I truly hate. I really doubt it, because I also believe that we can make something out. I've done a lot of jobs before also, but I used to find a way to make it fun as well. So there is kind of do what you love what you do, this game as well, a little bit. Was it all calculated? The business, the men's group now, I have a guy who works with me on the business side. He is like completely analytical, Excel sheet. I took him on board. We had a very honest conversation. I told him like, you are going to do all that, because I'm not the right guy. The more I'm in my head, the more I'm thinking. Also with the business, the more I'm thinking, the shittiest the reality of this business would be. I am a feeling kind of guy. I can read a room really well. I take me on stage to that space where I need to sing you this really awkward voice that transmits something of, it starts very beautiful and finishes in despair of me shouting to a point that I'm literally almost fainting on stage. Yeah, no, but I get that. I understand it. I feel it. Take me to analyze spreadsheets and stuff. Like all my energy gets completely drained. So on a more spiritual level, if I may say, in this space, in a business building of such, there is something bigger than us playing a game here. And again, maybe I'm privileged, or maybe I'm idiot enough to just follow something, or maybe I'm lucky. I honestly, I am not the guy who would tell you, okay, this is what happened. I can tell you what happened, what I told you. 2022, I was called to this, but it's hindsight. It's not like I was like planning something. I'm not a planner. I'm always giving this a joke. There was one time, because of our lifestyle, both my wife and I, there is no planning holidays for us, because tour life is complete madness. I'm literally, you don't know where you're going to be and what's going on. It's really like the amount of travel and shit. So never book anything in advance. There was one time that we came from holiday, and then I told my wife, I'm going to plan. We're going to book for next August. One time we're going to be organized. I did that. COVID happened. We had to cancel. That was my very definition. Clarity is like, we are not one of those people. We're not planners. We just need to live life as it goes. Trust that something will happen. I'm saying it with a smile. I know the feeling of like, fuck, very well. And it attacks me still on a regular basis, sometimes more, sometimes less. Coming back to what we said before, most of it's mind masturbation that the mind creates. It has nothing to do with reality. Because if I'll go in those moments, if I just go for a run of 1 minute, if I'll punch a punching bag, or if I'll just go on like 90 stairs up and down and I'll come back, everything will look better. And that's something I remind myself, that a lot of those terror thoughts, it's just imagination. And you and me are still here, alive, in a nice studio. We have family. Everybody has something to eat. Might change, who knows? But for now, it's been working. I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Because I think there's so much. Because I'm definitely like that. There's a conflict between me and my wife, because she is a planner, she's a solicitor, she's organised, she's like boom, boom, boom.
I married a dancer. We're both fucked, so it's all good.
Yeah, but I'm not. I look at that and I say to her that I don't have a plan. I'm not someone who's going to sit there and plan and go, I need to know, but we haven't got a pension, we haven't got this in place. It will be okay. I honestly believe that. I go into love and do believe that. I think that's my mindset that allows. And don't be wrong, even I have been in them not great places, and you sort of, and like you said, you go, fuck, like where am I? But I try and remind myself. I've got it printed on one of the jumpers I wear, where it says, "This too shall pass." And I know when things are really good. Like at the minute, I can't tell I feel alive at the moment. Things are going okay. I'm in a good headspace, like everything. I feel like I've made some changes at the beginning of the year. I'm feeling in a good headspace. I'm going, I know this will pass. When I was in December, and I honestly felt broken. I was there. I was sitting there. A friend of mine, we launched an event called "You All Right, Mate," which was a men's group. We just got men together, put them in different groups. We spoke openly about vulnerabilities, and got different men's groups together. Dad LaSalle, a couple of other people together. Really great event. Realised there's this need to continue on this journey for me to express vulnerability and that thing. I was driving to an event. I was in a really bad headspace. I was driving to interview someone, and my mate who I'd done the event with, Bud, rung me and went, "You all right, mate?" And I just broke down. Broke down. I was in such a bad place, and he went, "Pull over," and he sat, and I spoke to him, and he helped me through it. I went and done the interview after, and I come back and I was okay. But recognising at that point as well, this too shall pass. I know, because now where I am, I feel good at the moment. I feel in a good headspace, and I'm recognising when you're in them dark, when you're in bad moments, whatever it is. I think that's what you're sort of alluding to, that we don't need to play. Wherever we are, whatever position we're in life, this part of our life will change. It's going to change. That will change, and whether it's good, it may be bad in a little while, but I'll deal with that. And when it's bad, actually, this is going to pass as well. And I think that's, for me, that's been something that's, I guess, helped me certainly over the last couple of years with the ups and downs of life, recognising that this too shall pass.
And I think it's exactly that. But also, it's really important that in the good times, like if now everything is, this too shall pass. And remembering that, because what happened for me for years when I came to that place that everything is smooth, I'm being called for production, money comes into the bank, have great sex with my wife, whatever it is. I figured it out, I know, and it's bullshit, because something will hit and then poof, it will be again this feelings of lack, of inadequacy, whatever it is, of fear. These are all, again, it's a movie. Who am I in all that? And again, this is a deep spiritual practice that I've done for years, which I mentioned before, that took me out of my depression, to really be the observer of all these things and detach from being in a place of detachment from. This is me. It's like it's thoughts, it's emotions that pass by, and they're like clouds. If you tell me, especially in the British weather, tomorrow will be cloudy, quite a good bet, but tomorrow will be sunny. It's and it's the same thing. It just evaporates and changes. But then we also have to contradict ourselves, because it's not true. We speak about us, free spirit, blah blah blah. It's not true that you and I don't plan. It's not true that we don't have the calculated minds. It's always both, because you can't produce 100 episodes of a podcast without being super organized, without ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. I cannot do the type of level of tension and work and stress that I have to go through in the level of productions that I do if I don't know my shit and I don't know how to do. And, if I had to, for example, a project that we had 183 performers in the Barbican stage, crazy project in whenever it was, many years ago, where I was a lot of responsibility. I have to have my legs on the ground as well. The question is, what guides me? And I think the thing that really is important for me to that I always is a guiding question is, am I guided by fear or am I guided by love? I'm sure I said it to you before. Am I guided by fear or am I guided by love? There is only two options. With everything. With the next episode of podcast that I'm going to do, in the next time I'm interacting with my kids, in the next time I'm responding to a bill that I receive that I don't accept, the next time my mother calls me or whatever, am I acting from fear or am I acting from love? This is a great question to spend time with every action, because this podcast is being done with love. And you trying to do this podcast to try to make money would probably be trying to act from fear, and it will collapse, and you won't do 100 episodes. So I think this is a really great little filter to check in with ourselves, which I check constantly, and I find myself acting from fear quite a lot of times, and cleansing and clearing is happening. Especially around money for me. Because if I analyze again, if I do the hindsight again, where did I make money? When I was, I need to make money from fear? Or when I was like, there is this production, I really want to do it. Oh, this is exciting. This is an action coming from love. And suddenly like, oh, great. So I have not touring for a few years. Money comes in. Same thing with the men's group. When I started to think about the men's group as a business, and that's what was guiding me, I got lost in it. But when I came back to the essence and I started to do the work of intuition, of connection, of real deep, non-masky, bullshitty kind of connection with people, then people engage with that. And people engage with it, so they want to become clients. It's quite simple, but it's a fine line to play. It's a dance. It is,
because it's hard to. Because I agree. When you come at something from place of fear, it's almost linked with a bit of desperation. So if you need that money, it comes from fear and it comes with desperation, and it's a struggle sometimes to get there. When you come from a place of abundance and you feel that I'm doing this because I love it and I'm doing it, and it will be a byproduct of money will. I always find money because you go back, you tap in. For me, I've started to learn. I'm trying to tap into resources, trying to tap into things that have happened in the past in regards to. I've always found it. Whatever happened, I've not ever not paid my mortgage. I've always paid that mortgage. I've always found a way. Don't be wrong. There's been times when I'm waiting for that invoice to come in the day before, and then I'm going, oh, okay, I'm going to pay it. And there's a fit, but so you tap into. There's almost like this resource bank that you can go into, and that's part of life and growing up and the journey I've been on. But you go, actually, I've been there. I've been in this place before, and I've come through it. So I can tap into that, and that will help me through to that next stage. And then like you said, when you get through that and you go okay, and then you come at something from a place of love, it seems to be a situation where you get more from it, more that will come a byproduct. The money will come as a byproduct of the stuff that I'm doing because it's coming from that place of love.
Yeah, and it feels important for me to mention also. Again, it almost sounds like a cliche now to say these things, but to come from a place of gratitude, because probably I would have a very different reality if I would have come from a very poor background in some kind of a violent environment where I didn't have the exposure to the information and people that I had exposed to. So to be grateful for what is, to remember that and spend more time with that than the mind masturbation of, oh my God, it's like, no, thank you, we're here, everything is okay, and to spend more time with that is another important little thing that I need to remind myself to do, and it does work. So yeah,
no, absolutely. Well, look, talk to me a little bit about as well. Like obviously, then the touring and the over the last couple of years and being away from home, life obviously looks a lot different now compared to what it was before when you're at home. So how has that been? How you sort of mentioned a little bit earlier about with the family and stuff, spending less time with them. Where has that been tricky the last couple of years?
It wasn't that couple of years. It became really intense from May 24, because again, doing the show with Chofesh, and we were Chofesh always likes to create outside of the UK, so we were out, and the premiere was in Théâtre de la Ville in Paris, so we were there for a long time. So that has been quite challenging, because my kids now being 10 and 12, they're not in the age that they don't give a shit and I can go. They still need me. It's not easy, but again, this is the reality. It's balancing. So what is the truth here? The truth is that this is a passion of mine. This is something that I feel completely at home. Especially with Chofesh, this guy, as I said, we really understand each other creatively, and and he is a lunatic, so we can really follow each other and run very quickly with stuff, and it's a very mental, creative process which I really love, and it brings the money as well. And it was also challenging because it's still now, I'm going now next week to China and Korea with Chofesh. Then I'm landing back to Paris. The day after I land, I'm doing the Piki show. So it's a completely different show. I need to land to that. And then I finish Piki. I'm going back with Chofesh to and then we start a new project in the Paris Opera. So it's like all this stuff kind of challenging. Not so... It's not easy, I want to be more with the kids. I'm feeling that I'm missing a lot, but I'm taking also the fact that when my kids were born, my wife was very clear that she wanted to continue to dance. It was very clear to her. I was in that moment like, ooh, what am I doing with my life? That was the moment of transition for me. So I was a full-time daddy, My wife was away weeks and months on tour. The bottles and stuff, I was there on my own. So I had a very long, beautiful connection, still have, with my kids when they were little, and I am there for them. They know that I'm there. It's not easy now. My daughter just changed to secondary school with all the challenges of that. But we worked on, honesty is my highest value in life, and an open communication. So we have that in the house. it's a lot of pressure on my wife. Definitely, that's the hardest bit, I think, because she's working in London, and it's like travel and so on, and then the juggling, the logistical challenges are really hard. And now that I say it, it feels a bit kind of, oh, it's very selfish what I'm doing, but I don't think it is actually, because it was a beautiful moment also when I kind of thought about, am I going to do this? And Wentz looked at me, told me like, listen, you've done your share, because I have done. And she was telling me like, it's okay. I don't know if she's regretting it now, but again, taking Yali, my boy, to for a week now, and they were in the rehearsals of Piki, they were all the time in the dressing room, they knew the show better than us, so they have these experiences. I had a really beautiful experience also a few months ago, because I'm not money was never an access for us, so I sometimes I judge myself, do I give my kids the experiences, but I remember one of the things that I remember from my childhood, my dad was the chairman of the basketball and football team of Maccabi Haifa, whatever. It's the club. It's quite a big club where I come from. And as a child, he always took me after the games. We went to the dressing rooms, and I met the players, basketball players. They're fucking huge. And I remember this as a childhood memory, really remembering being kind of in the place that nobody can see. And suddenly, like with my kids, suddenly in the Piki, dressing rooms, all these theaters that they come and watch, I suddenly thought, like, wow, I am actually giving them the same kind of experience. Maybe it's the artistic world, but still, they come backstage, the dressing rooms, and all the stuff that is happening there. They slept so many times, when they were little, because both Wins and I were performing. So they were both sleeping in the dressing rooms of Sadler's Wells, of Brighton Dome. We had babysitters coming for the show. So it's beautiful memories. And I'm talking to them, telling them on one hand, yeah, I'm not here, but you can talk to me, and I'm following through that, every day I'm talking to them and so on. But at the same time, I'm showing them what it is to do what you love. And it comes with a cost. And they see it. And they tell me when it's hard for them. And I'm trying to do the best that I can to be there for them. Like any parent, I'm failing a lot, and I'm probably screwing their lives in ways that I don't really want. But all in all, I think I'm quite a good dad. We need to bring them next time to judge it. But it's what it is. Like everything else, as we said, it has really beautiful stuff in it, all these challenges, and it has really challenging things around it. Coming back to the first question, if I die tomorrow, do I have regret about how I did things? No. So I think this is my, the kind of the way to measure it.
And it's I really agree with that, because I often have this thing, like Kelly sometimes at home, she'll say to me, she wants to be a judge, so she's training to do that. And she's gets really preoccupied with stuff, and she's working lots and and she says, I'm not present, I'm not around with the kid. But I always try and flip the narrative with her, and I just say, do you not see what how inspiring it is for the kids to see that you're because you're giving them permission to follow their dreams. They know, and I'm sure your kids are the same, right? They know that you love them unconditionally, right? You love them. That you've got that bond with them. I remember on the first episode you talked about the level of communication. I think on that first episode you said, like, only a few hours ago I was shouting at them, and I said, like, and I had to ask them for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And, but amazing, like that. I was blown away by that. Like that. But you asked them. Yeah, I asked them to forgive me.
If again, it depends if the shouting happened, because there is a difference there.
Yeah.
Because if they did something that they shouldn't do and they are out of their boundaries and so on, and I won't normally shout. I'm not a shouter, but then I won't say sorry. But if I have some shit going on at work and so on, and I'm lacking presence that we spoke about before, and I'm unleashing my shit on them, then I would definitely apologize. Not only to them, to any person, because it has nothing to do with them. It's my own shit that I allowed to spill, and so just to make the distinction, it's really important.
You're right, and but then back to the other point I was making is that I think I want the kids to see that you're following your dreams. I want for me. I want the kids, and I'm sure the same. You that they get. As you spoke about it, and I said I could see that enthusiasm, and they must see you on stage, and they see how much that lights you up. And look at what Dad's doing; he's following his dreams. That you're giving them permission to do that when they get older. That there are no limitations. I can go and follow my. Of course, things come with everything in life, right? There's the opposite. There's always going to be a sacrifice. So there's always going to be a cost to something, whatever that cost looks like. Often it's time that we have to give up. That's the cost of something that we're following our passion for. But if not living a life true to ourselves and living a life with no regret is the most important thing in life, you're showing that to them. If they take that from it and they go and do that in their life, you've done what you've done your job as a father, right?
Yeah, I think so. And there is something that comes up to me strong from what you're saying is it's also quantity and quality, because I can be at home all the time, like a lot of men are, but being constantly busy and so I'm with them, and that's something that every time I say to the guys in the groups, like, really check when your kids are nasty and they're behaving really bad, check if you are present. Because when I'm present, it's not about playing with them or being literally with them, but if I'm there present with them, they're quite calm and relaxed. When I'm there, if the body is there, but the mind is doing that thing, it makes them restless. It's so I'm kind of taking. So if I'm there, if I'm less time with them, but can I make it quality time? Can I really be there for them and with them? This afternoon, my daughter needs to do some kind of thing prop for a show in theater in her art school. So I need to make sure I'm removing my work and be there with that, because quantity over quality is really, really important, because I can be with them but not present, and so it means nothing. So yes, I'm away a lot, but when I'm there, I'm doing my best. And again, I'm failing a lot. I'm not saying that I've mastered it, but it's just to remind myself, be there, be with them, listen to them. And doing the things, probably we spoke about it before, instead of pushing how was your day, to tell them, like, hey, I had a really good day today, I was with Sam in the studio, or I had a shit show today, it's been a hard day, so that they can feel that reality, so that they don't have to judge themselves. It's okay, so it's okay to be with a good day, it's okay to be with a bad day, So it's the quality sometimes more than the quantity, especially with the reality that I'm facing now, and what you're saying with your wife. It's also like, okay, it's a beautiful thing, but then, there are the moments of togetherness to really squeeze the most out of those.
Okay, I'm just going to say something about one of our sponsors, Riverval. The world of cars, vans and minibuses is often a pain point for many of us. The hassle of finding the right vehicle, let alone looking after it, are all more things to add to our lists as busy people. Riverval's mission is to make motoring manageable, and that's why they provide leasing, purchasing, servicing and vehicle management. So whether you have one family car or a fleet of vans for your business, Riverval are your trusted vehicle supplier. Visit www.riverval.co.uk. Okay, let's jump back to the podcast. It's back to this. So, and people will say whether a lot of conversations are cliche, whatever they are, but it's like if I take all these key learnings that I've had from these conversations, it comes back to so much of this, of what I hope I tried to encapsulate in the 100th episode, that being present, being in that moment, wherever you are at that moment, be in that moment.
Yeah.
Be in that moment, and you've highlighted it again today, and I think that's the key. Like, because I know that when I'm there with the kids, sometimes I'm there, but I'm not really there, and we all know that. We check in with ourselves, and we've got to be there. But actually taking that time, I know when we've just come back from a trip to Lanzarote, we had a week there, and it was amazing. And I've done work. I always work when I'm away. I do little bits and pieces, but I'm up early. I got the podcast out on Monday. Everyone was asleep. I went for me swim in the sea over. It was warmer sea over there as well, which was nice. But then you come back in, everyone's just waking up, and you go, now I'm done. Everything's done. I can now be in this. I can play with you in the pool, and I'm not thinking I should have. I needed to get that podcast. So it's just, again, life. It's a balancing act.
It's a balancing act. Sometimes it's impossible to find, and it's just
and that's the challenge of life. I guess I'm really keen. I know you mentioned about obviously the men's group, and I do want to talk about because obviously that's still ongoing. You've still been doing your men's circles, and I'm just keen to tap into that, like some of the maybe share some of the common challenges that you're seeing from the men in within the men's circle? Is there something there that you can share? Because I think I shared obviously on the 100th episode and what I've spoke about a lot and why this mission is so important to me, because I think that again the direction from our first episode to where this has developed into it helped me to relive that moment a bit deeper, and you know, I shared that time, although when we spoke about it, when I revisited it and spoke about it again, sharing that time of when I didn't want to be here anymore. That's how dark it got for me, and I didn't realise how deep that was until I relived it again. And then you go, when suicide is the biggest killer in men under 50, like 84 men die in the UK of suicide a week. That statistic is just, it blows my mind every time. So I'm keen to just, I guess, talking to your experience and with the men's groups you do and the men's circles, some challenges that men are facing and how we can, I guess, what we can do to help and support that. What if you can share any of that?
I can share the common things to the community that we run, because there are many different ways to run men's groups. You know, there are many men's groups that it's about really a space for guys to just come and be with other men, because there is a problem and men feel isolated, men feel lost, men you know, there are a lot of common challenges in our community. It's more directed to growth, so it's less about the space of just coming and sharing and having a chat, because there are a lot of places like this which are great. I was always more interested in the element of growth, because for me, I found that for me to come to a place where it's men coming with men and we just share, and it becomes like, oh yeah, I can hear you, I can feel you, and it stays there. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't make me what I'm interested in. How can I become a better man? How can I see myself in a different view? And again, it doesn't come from a place of judgment on the other things or anything. It's just saying that this was my interest. I actually refer a lot of men to other men's groups and so on. Just that our path is more about, it's for men who are usually have done quite a lot of things, you know. For men like me, I'll take myself as an example. So it's someone like me who has toured all over the world, made a lot, you know, a lot of beautiful things, lived his purpose, decided at some point to become a father, has these challenges, then decided to change a career and so on. And yet all over these years, there is this feeling of like, I'm stuck. I'm not good enough. Why can't I make more? And all this kind of it. So it's kind of, there isn't. It's not that I'm in a place of I'm lost. I'm completely, no. I'm doing well actually. But something isn't right here, and I don't really know how to tap into that. So it can be a feeling of stuck. It can be a feeling of not good enough. It can be at the beginning of the journey, like my business is not working well. It can be a place of my marriage is not going well. It can be I'm lonely. This kind of is the starting point. But where it goes from there is to, are you living your truth? It's everything that we spoke about. Because it's about allowing us to discover who we truly are, what truly matters to me. And the beautiful thing is that when you come to this kind of space with other men where you have really real honest conversations on a regular basis with other like-minded men who are kind of in a similar journey, and you have the opportunity to share very openly what's going on for you. But it's not just that, you hear from other guys, and in our environment it doesn't end there. So we have space, you know kind of structures to then challenge that. So you say that, what makes you believe that? And you start to get a lot of different perspective from guys who have done shit. And you start to see, oh, wait a second, like this assumption that I have, this idea that I follow all the time, maybe I can challenge that. And you take people into really look at themselves in a very different light. And doing this in a space of a group of other guys, you know, as a business owner, a podcast, a musician, guys that are doing things, this positive banter just makes it leads to growth. And that growth is what I'm focused on. So it's less about, you know, I'm kind of trying to remove it from the suicide rate. And so, because again, I was thought about suicide, I was depressed and so on. but that doesn't motivate me. I'm interested to be with guys who are like me. They're doing crazy shit, but fuck, I want to bite more in this lifetime from a place of love, not from a place of fear. But I'm dropping a lot of time to the place of fear. Can you show me what I can't see? What are my blind spots? It's about, for me, more about that element of growth. What we are doing again. That said, there are a lot of other spaces who are more focused on just giving the guys who are really alone, guys who are in really, we had guys that contacted us and it was misaligned because these guys are really like, they need, like most of the guys that will come to us are guys that have done some form of therapy, have done some form of coaching, have done a lot of self-development work. They will know kind of the books and stuff like this, but despite all that, something hasn't clicked yet, so they're looking for what can help me. So it's this kind of environment. So I'm just saying it because it's I'm never talking too much about the suicide rate. I can totally relate to this. I can understand it. As someone that I shared with you that I was depressed for many years, and all the guys that are joining us have been there. But it's guys that understand. Okay, I can have these experiences, but I know that I can snap out of it. I'm looking for a place that can really help me to see the things that I cannot see. I don't want to do it on my own. I want to be in this environment that will challenge me to be a better man. So it's kind of men who are more it's not self-reliant. It's like, I don't have the word.
I guess it comes from a place of self-awareness, I guess.
Absolutely, yes.
To a place of self-awareness when you recognise that, you're because as I mentioned there, I guess like for someone like me, I felt stuck, I felt lost at the end of last year. I got to that place in December. I'm like, fuck, I'm just lost here. What? But I know that I want to get to that next stage. I know so I could come and speak. My understanding of what you're trying to say, I'd come to because I want to be a better person. I want to find out what my truth is and where I am and where I'm going. And you need that support because we can't do it alone.
No.
That's my learnings from all these conversations that we like. And I'm a very independent person. I've got this.
That's the thing. You are going to find a solution.
Yeah.
You're going to look for a solution.
Yeah.
But you're looking for something. What can help you with that? It's different to some guys that literally. I'll say it in a bad way, but people who are almost feel like they want to be rescued, or people who are, because they haven't yet have this self-awareness, which we can all. I didn't have the self-awareness, a while back. So I for many years I was looking for someone to rescue me, help me, because I was in that space of not having the self-awareness that a lot of the stuff that is happening to me is because of me. So there is a lot of finger pointing, society, the government, women, whatever it is. This is not the type of work that we do. We are. If you want to join, all these fingers will be pointing back at you, like my teachers have done to me when I was blaming my wife and whatever, and they told me, "Oh, very nice. Okay, what are you doing to make that happen?" Now, for a lot of people, that would be, "What do you mean?" The guys that we're working with, like, let me look at that and see what I can find. And you go from that place, and there's a lot of beautiful discoveries, and another layer, and another layer, and another layer, and we will never totally figure it out, and then we'll die. It's all very simple. But that journey of self-discovery, self-awareness is a beautiful journey.
Yeah. It's strange, I'm starting to do more work on myself, and I've never really done it before. This is a form of it, I guess, the conversations I have, but never really took the time to really try and look, and I'm doing that at the moment. I'm on the journey to certainly. I'm dipping my toe into that arena. But I'm wondering, you mentioned about the finger pointing, and there was something I wanted to, because I listened to a podcast and I wanted to get your take on it. I listened to a podcast and they was talking about how men have potentially lost their role in society because, and potentially linking it to the economic growth of women, and the women's roles are here, and men have lost their what their role is within, like, you know, we go back generations and we was a provider, and this is what it meant to be a man, and etc. And then actually now we're moving towards an equal society. We're nowhere near there yet, but we're moving towards an equal society. But with the growth here as at a detriment to why are men feeling so stuck, lost, and is it because we're not sure what our role is within society?
I'm not usually doing this kind of intellectual discussions, but I can give you my take on it. Uneducated take. I'm not. I haven't researched it like doctors in university or whatever. But for me, it's less about what is the common thing about we lost our power as a provider. There is that element. For me, something that I see happening very much in Western world. And again, I don't like speaking like this because it sounds like I don't like going to the head, but I'll share my thought. Okay, so the Western world has, for many reasons, has rejected religion for many reasons. I never consider myself as a religious person, and what happened with that is that we lost. We speak about the elements that are important. I don't remember the hierarchy of the food, shelter, spirituality. The connection with something higher than us, the spiritual connection, this thing is something that we really need. And I think after COVID, a lot of people started to understand it. Now, because of that rejection of religion and spirituality, there is something missing in the Western societies. If you think about it, through religion, what is in its core, not what it became after that as politics that happened with people, but it's something that brings people together. To have conversation, to celebrate some stuff together, to spend quality time with family, to talk about what's going wrong and how can I clear what's going. It's really beautiful. The men's group. Somebody told me like, oh, so it's kind of like going to church. I'm like, what? but then I thought about it. Yeah, it happens on a regular basis. It's a place that you come with familiar people to have really honest conversations, and you're being challenged to look at yourself from a different light and so on. I think a lot of men don't have it, and we're stuck in the head. And it's all in the head. Its life became head where there is no connection to anything else. So there is loneliness. There is a lot of that lack. And I think pretending that we have all our shit together, when deep inside there is such core deep pains, and pretending that it doesn't exist because I need to pretend in Western society that money, all this stuff. I think there is no, like, as men, what initiates us to be men? Like, most men are just boys who pretend to be men. Nothing actually, in if you look at other societies, like if you look backwards, there were ceremonies, there was something that converts you from a boy to a man. Women kind of have it naturally with the period. Something happens to you. We don't really have that. Where I come from, unfortunately, the reality is that at the 18, you have to go to the army, and that really changes you. You see, people are more mature. And I think the fact that we don't have that, and in a way, a lot of people call the men's groups as kind of initiation space. That you are being challenged to stop looking at yourself as the boy who is that does things because my mama and papa expect me to make business and make money. And like, who are you? And who are you is a bigger question than the ego. Who are you? Yeah, I want to make a lot of money. I want to be successful. Yeah, okay, great. Who are you? So for me, the connection to spirituality is something that is, I think, causing a lot of that. Because I see the men that come to us, the men's group that we go, it's not processes that take you into, there is not a lot of pre-planned stuff. We are bringing you back into your intuition. Like, you are in a very different place from the last time we met. Yeah, you have your radar now. Your human radar is much more open than it was before because you went through this process. You allowed yourself to feel the pain. What most men don't. They will keep pretending and working 17 hours a day and smiling and put whatever the thing. Under that, there is a lot of pain. You allowed yourself to go through that pain, and that comes with a connection to something bigger awareness. I can start reading what's going on here. I can start feeling and things that we've lost, and we're going to continue to lose now with ChatGPT and stuff like this. our capacity to really, our senses. And I think bringing us back to that place a little bit. You have problems with your wife. Do you really know what she's telling you? Because we listen to the words, but a lot of the words don't mean anything. Because, there's a difference between I'm fine and I'm fine and I'm fine. It's three completely different contexts, but a lot of men just hear I'm fine. Okay, she's fine. So they continue. No. So it's learning about all these things. Again, I went on a tangent here. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but
no, you really have. You really have. Again, for me, I think it's what I find fascinating. It's back to that point of looking really in here who you are and what, not only who you ask that question, who you are, what are my values as a human being. And this is where I think again I pinpoint it back to the impact that our first conversation had on me. I can't tell you. Said I'm going back to that point, and our pivotal. I feel like that was, and revisiting it recently was really eye opening. So going back to that point where you go, actually, really looking at myself. What are my values? What aligns with what I'm doing? And it's taken me a long time. Taken me to now to really start to analyse this more, but go, these are my values. And if these things are not aligning with my values, then it's okay to, rather than me go, I've got to be busy, I've got to do all this. Yeah, that's nice over there. I'm going to do that. Everything. No, that doesn't align with where I am. That doesn't align with who I am and you've got to really look inside to find out who that person is. And I think that's, and I'm still well on. I'm still on that journey with it. Right?
Me too. We're always on the journey. Yeah, absolutely.
Always on that journey to do it. But I feel like I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer to that part of me, and even by doing that, I'm able to let things go and go. That doesn't serve me anymore. I don't need that anymore in my life. It's not a little badge over here because I've got this, and I'm going, look at me, it's great. I've got this 10 different businesses that are all doing fuck all really. Actually, I can let go of that. It doesn't serve that. That's not. This is what I'm here for. This is what my purpose is. This is what lights me up. I'm going to let go of these other things, and slowly, it's a slowly process, but I'm starting to do that, and I feel that. Again, I keep referring back to the point in December to where I am now. I think I got up at the beginning of this year, and when whatever happens, I'm going to get to December this year, and I'm going to look back, and I'm not going to be in the same position I was. And I'm not talking about financial or anything. I'm talking about where I am spiritually and mindfully and everything. That I'm going to be able to look back and go, because I've made some changes now, and I'm letting go of things, and I'm going to get there and be in a different place. And I think that, in answer to my question, which I think you've encapsulated, is actually for all of us men, it's not about the growth of women or all of these things. It's about just really looking at who we are individually.
Yeah, it's to stop looking outside. And again, we spoke about a lot of things. You just mentioned knowing your values. That's one thing that people can take from this conversation and really check what are your values. I have a very simple process that I do with people to find the values. It's very simple, and it's. I used to take the piece out of it, but actually, there is a lot of value in that. We spoke about acting from fear or acting from love. It's another thing. We spoke about the little tools of breath or touching the body to come back to present. What else? Purpose, big words that we didn't really touch.
You say about purpose. What we didn't touch, but what from your men's group, is that what you're helping them to try and navigate to find, or is our purpose? Is it something that we have to look for, or is it something that we just feel that's right when we're doing it?
I think it's something that we feel. It's the thing that we can't not do. It's the thing that we can't not do. If I tell you not to do the podcast, you can't not do the podcast. So it's that, and it's call it inner truth. What I really want to do with my life. What is the driving force? Is another word that I like to call it. What's your driving force? What's the thing that you wake up in the morning and you just want to do it? And how can you connect yourself with more? Like we said, clear the stuff that no longer served. Maybe things that have served in the past, but maybe no longer. That creates space for that clarity that we need in order to connect with the things that we really want. Checking with the ego. Am I driven by my ego to prove something to someone? or am I driven by something that really means something to me? It's a tough question to deal with, but it's worth it. And yes, this is the main thing, I guess, that we work with, the guys that we work with. It's guys that know what it is to be successful, but somehow there is still this emptiness and there is some conflict inside. And it's because in many cases it's that success was driven by pleasing other people. Or maybe it wasn't, but it's no longer the thing that drives them. You know, I was musician at some point. It's like when I knew that with Hofes, that period of time, he told me like, we're not going to do anything with musicians. I didn't see myself going to do weddings or going to play in clubs. It wasn't my kind of thing. There are a lot of musicians that for them it's hallelujah, great. I wasn't interested in that, so I had to go, what the hell am I doing with my life? Yeah. And it was not easy. It was a very tough process to look at my truth. But it's worth it. Yeah. And it's these alignments with what is true to me and what is driving me. What's the thing that I wake up in the morning and it's not easy. It's not easy. It requires patience. It requires honesty. It requires feedback. Again, when you're surrounded by people who can really give you honest feedback, because a lot of times we say something, it's interesting. You will say that you want to do something, so you will get a lot of like, oh, this is a great idea, la la la, and people. Yeah. Or if it's the paradox is, if it's something that is really your purpose, it can be something that is so contradicting the way you've handled your life so far, that from your most loved ones, the people closest to you, they will try to pull you out of it as much as they can because it's a too rough change for them. And this is where a space like a men's group that gives you like, we know that it's hard, but it seems like your truth, and they will support you and they will guide you more into that truth, and also in the way that you can handle that truth with your loved ones and so on. This is so important because that truth, that purpose, if you've lived your life for 10, 20, 30, 40 years misaligned, it's not going to be easy. But it's going to be so beautiful to tap into that. And it's worth it. You know that it's worth it. I know that it's worth it. And this is why I'm a big advocate to lean into the discomfort, because how can I explain it? Leaning into the pain, it's like the pain that men, and not just men, but people suffer for decades for not living their truth. It's kind of, it's an unobserved pain, but it's horrible. And it's continuous, it's just continuous. The pain of leaning into that truth, it's much more painful, but it's much shorter, and what you discover on the other side is priceless. And this is why I'm a big advocate, having lived life like that. So this is something that I'm, talk about business and money, I don't know, I'm not going to be the advocate, but this is something that I think I've walked the talk in life quite a few times, with all the challenges that come with it. So I'm a big believer, and this is what drives me to do the type of men's group that I do, because I see that so many men are turned off, and men turned off can end in suicide, can end in all this shit, but men turned off can give that kind of education to their kids, who will be also turned off, and relationships will be turned off, and people will continue to separate from each other, and children will grow into single parenthood and feeling lost, and society will be lost, and la la la. It's our responsibility. I see it as responsibility for us men who are in that space, we have done the therapy, we've developed self-awareness, we feel that there is more. And I'm speaking as myself. I am doing that work. It's not I'm offering it because I created this space for myself. I know that I need to be a better man for my kids. I need to be a better man for my wife, for my community, from whatever. The world needs this. And but not everybody's ready. If you listen to this and you're ready, I really encourage you to do whatever you think is right for you to do, to take the step and do it. It's I want to say it's easier not to do anything about it, but actually you're going to suffer much more. So it's your choice.
Oh, mate, as we're coming towards the end, I mean, what a brilliant way to come in to, but. And there's something that really resonates with it. I had Bruno on here who used to play for Brighton as a footballer, top level, and he said something really powerful and it really resonates. And it's said, someone that's never suffered, what did he say? It was something along the lines of, a broken human being is much more beautiful than a human being who's never suffered. And that is something, all of what you just said really aligns so much with that. You're right, because we are all broken. We're all flawed.
Yeah, we're all fucked up, man. We're all, yeah, it's like we can pretend.
And we can accept it and actually find out what things are, and then take. And like you said, I think getting to a point in life, whatever that point is in life, that we can change it. We've got the option. We've got the choice to change it, and just take action to do that. And I think if we can create a society where more men are doing that, we can create a society that passes that this type of work, the type of work you're doing, almost, you know, we educate our children at schools to communicate in these ways, that actually maybe do we change that narrative, maybe do we change the story, then maybe without even that we affect that statistic, because we're creating the next generation of people that are communicating in a different way, that are finding what their truth is.
Maybe I will remove them. I know that if more men do it, and that's also, this is important, the ripple effect of this work, because if you do this work, you are now, compared to the last time we spoke, you are impacting people. It's a ripple effect. So I don't think the maybe is relevant for what you just said. I think that we just need to do it, and change will happen. I really believe in that.
Amazing, mate. I'm going to ask you one last thing before we go, just to round up. I've created a new space where we do our conversation cards, and I've created these storytelling cards, and I've chosen one for you at random that we go. What advice would you offer someone who is at the brink of a major life transition?
Oh man, I'm gonna be hard on you. Like, give me a context. Like, what kind of life transition? Like.
A major life transition could be, I'm going to change my job. Do I split up with my wife? A life transition.
And I need to give advice for that person.
Yeah.
What
advice would you offer someone who's at the brink of that, just coming up to the big decision that they make?
Listen to your heart. Spend time with people that you trust to give you brutally honest feedback. Check with them. Tell them what you're planning to do. But not from people who will tell you like, yeah, this is great. And, people that will give you the truth in your face. Share with them their thought and receive their feedback. I think, that would be my advice.
Mate, honestly, I'm so grateful, firstly, for you coming on the first time and helping me find my truth, right, and help shape what hopefully this has become, and something that the next 100 episodes will be even more so. And I'm grateful for you taking the time to I know how busy you are at the minute as well with touring and everything, to taking the time when you've come back to come on and have another conversation with me. It was as brilliant, if not better, than the first one, so I'm grateful for that, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, my friend. And all I wish you is that the next 100 episodes, I'll be contradictive again, that the next 100 episodes will bring you shitloads of money and this podcast will be super successful. Yeah, why not?
We'll take that. Mate, thank you so much. And that, as they say, is a wrap.